I'm Myriam.
And I'm Elyse. Two friends bound by the love of books.
Taking on the world one chapter at a time. This is the Book Bound Besties podcast. Hey, Book Bound Besties! Welcome to episode 12 of season 1 of the Book Bound Besties podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Fourth Wing chapters 34, 35, and 36. After this episode, we have one more left.
I know.
It's crazy.
It's getting really intense.
Yeah. Much like a Sarah J. Maas novel.
Yeah.
The last 100 pages of this book are insane.
Yeah, I was apprehensive going into it because I knew that it would be
something had to happen.
Intense, and it delivered.
I also just want to say, last week I was so delirious. I fully had a fever while we were recording.
Yeah.
So apologies for how last week turned out.
I'm sure it's fine. It's fine.
I'm sure it's fine. And apologies for my slightly nasally voice today. It is what it is.
It is what it is. You're good.
Yeah. This chunk of chapters, Elyse, finally answers so many questions.
Oh my God.
I'm so happy for you because and I'm also so happy for myself because now you don't have to hear me say, I can't answer that, or my lips are sealed. Our listeners must be so
But
annoyed.
I have to say, you have been so good.
Thank you.
Because especially in these chunk of chapters, I have been saying things about it, and you played it off so cool and didn't let anything on. I'm very impressed. As I was reading it, I was like, "Damn, Myriam!" I'm very impressed.
Thank you.
Thank you for keeping this journey real. I don't know.
Pure, innocent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm actually lobbying Elyse to no longer have to do this because it's so hard. It's so hard for someone to say something that's very much on the nose.
Yeah.
Or last week when you were, was it last week when Liam got injured and you're like, oh no, I thought Liam was going to die.
Yeah.
And I feel wasn't that such a close call?
Oh God. Anyway, it's been a journey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before we get into it, how was your week? How's your reading? How's everything?
Well, last week I was completely incapacitated. I got the flu that knocked me on my butt so hard. I don't think I'd been that sick since the cocoa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was really bad. Even last night when we were going to bed, Justin was like, this... Because I was like, how long were you? Because he got it the week before, and I was so smug. I'm like, I'm on all these supplements, and I eat so well, and blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to catch this. This is a weak man cold or whatever. And no. I will never be that jerky to him again when he's sick. I will take exceedingly good care of him because he was so good to me. And he was like, yeah, no, I was stuffed up for a week and a half, but I think you got it worse than me. I'm like, great.
Yeah, you sounded really off.
Yeah. It's been tough, but I did read a lot.
Well, exactly. That's why I was asking. You're flying through the From Blood and Ash companion. You're on the companion series now?
So I'm reading the companion series and From Blood and Ash at the same time. In tandem, I guess. Yeah. Because there's you read the first 3 from Blood and Ash, then you read the first Flesh and Fire, then you read the fourth Blood and Ash, then the second Flesh and Fire.
Right,
you kind of go like that because the stories start to kind of intermingle. Oh man, they're so good. They are so good. I can't wait for you to read them.
Yeah. Yeah, I've
they're so up your alley.
I might have said it before, but I've had friends say that they like it better than ACOTAR and Fourth Wing, so.
Yeah, it's just darker, spicier. I don't know. It's so good.
I'm excited to read them.
How about you?
I finished Silver Flame.
Yes.
I finished my ACOTAR journey.
For now.
For now. I know she's writing another one, but wow.
Yeah.
I went into it apprehensive almost because I was like, I'm not going to want to read a story that's not about Farah. I adored it. And this isn't a spoiler. If you read the back of the book, you know the book is about Nesta. I love her so much. I loved her journey so much. And I think continuing with the trend, and I think I've mentioned this before, like every book in this series is so unique.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like, oh, same, but different. Like every journey, every like the subject matters that are spoken about, everything is just so unique in each book. It's like, so it's like, yes, it's the characters you're familiar with, and yes, it's the world you're familiar with, but it really is a different journey every time. And like this one just hit me.
I know.
It was so good. I loved it. I really, really loved it.
Well, I knew that this book would capture your heart because of the mental health aspect. Like I just knew. I was just waiting for you to get there. Yeah. And there was a specific scene, which is this scene where Nessa and Cassian are hiking through these mountains, and it's brutal, and they're not speaking, and then she has this giant emotional release, and I just knew that scene would get you so deep.
Yeah, I definitely cried reading multiple times reading it. Yeah, it was great. It was funny, I was talking to someone, or I had it on my desk, because I'm at the point where I'm like shamelessly reading this stuff in public. I feel like a few months ago I was like reading like Mist and Fury, and I was like, ooh, I can't read this in public, and now I'm like sitting at my desk at work reading the scenes in Silver Flames, which are arguably way worse.
Oh yeah.
So
worse.
Well, no, but like spicier. Like it's like very smutty.
Oh yeah.
Compared to the others.
Yeah.
So I was reading it, and someone was like, "Oh, I didn't read that one. Like I kind of like didn't want to continue. You know, like I was like." Read it. Yeah. Like, do yourself a favor and read it. It's so good.
Don't you understand now why I've evangelized these books to our group of friends? Like, I'm the girl who, there was a meme the other day that I saw that it was like, oh, have you read ACOTAR at a, like somebody asks if you read ACOTAR at a party, and you're just like, cool. Have a normal reaction to this book. Like Sunday, actually, I had my cousin's 30th birthday dinner, and one of my cousins just finished Fourth Wing, and she had read ACOTAR, and so we're talking, I'm not even joking, I think we spoke for like 2 hours just on these books.
Yeah. So she's going to listen to the podcast.
Oh, yeah. 100%. She follows us on social media. She's so funny. Like, actually, it's really cute. Like, all of my cousins and, like, their girlfriends and stuff, they are super supportive, and yeah, it's just...
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. My cousin's wife is starting on Throne of Glass because if I were to like restart this whole SJM journey, I would have started with Throne of Glass. Yeah. Okay. And then I would have done ACOTAR, and I would have done Crescent City, which is actually what I told Nicole to do. Yeah. That's why she's reading Throne of Glass first. But Jess, I guess Jess just picked up ACOTAR. I don't know. I don't know why. Maybe I don't know why Jess picked up ACOTAR. But I told her, I was like, read Throne of Glass first, but she was already in it. Yeah, she was like, it's too late.
Yeah. She's already halfway through, I think, the series. So.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean, there's no right or wrong way.
No.
It's just...
I just think, I mean, I haven't read Throne of Glass yet, but I do think ACOTAR is such a good gateway.
It is.
Like, to draw you into that. Yeah. Like, if you haven't read fantasy in a while, if you haven't read in a while, like, just, it's such a perfect starting point.
You're 100% right, because Throne of Glass is much more high fantasy than fantasy romance. Right. But, I don't know. It's just, it's her first series.
Yeah.
Her writing evolves so much just over the course of that one series. It's just...
Yeah.
Got a special place in my heart.
But again, I've had other people tell me that Throne of Glass is their favorite SJM. So.
Oh, it's my favorite.
No, I know it's yours, but I've had other people tell me
because I haven't told you enough times.
What? You telling me about books you like? What? That never happens.
No, that's not why we're here.
Yeah. So anyway... it's been a journey. I'm sad it's over for now, but it's okay because when the next one comes out, we're going to throw a big party and make a big deal of it.
Absolutely. we are going to go to a cabin. We are going to do all the things. All the Bookstagram
all
things.
The theme things.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
I'm very excited. Mm-hmm. All right. Shall we get into
our second to last episode? Yeah. Let's do it.
Let's do it. My synopses are really short this week.
That's okay.
Because I didn't want to like overly spoil anything, and also it was just so much action that I was like, Okay. Chapter 34. The riders set out for their war games posts. A brief rest stop turns into a near intimate moment, but is interrupted by a plot-twisting visit.
Okay.
Very.
You were not joking when you said it was short.
It was really short. Yeah, no, because we started posting them online.
Yeah, and you don't want to spoil them.
I'm really trying not to write anything too spoilery in these last chunks because
fair enough.
Just on the off chance someone is like, oh, what's a recap? And like reads the wrong thing and ruins the book. I don't know.
No.
I'm trying to keep it secretive.
You're so thoughtful. The pre-chapter blurb comes from Navarre, An Unedited History by Colonel Lewis Markham, and it says, the first known Griffin attack occurred in 1 AU after unification, near what is now the trading post in Ressin, at the edge of the dragon-protected border. The post has always been vulnerable to attack and, over the course of the past 6 centuries, has changed hands no less than 11 times in what has become a never-ending war to secure our borders from our power-hungry enemies. I just gave Elyse a look because we know what happens in Ressin.
Yeah.
Towards the end of our chunk of chapters.
Yes.
So.
It's so funny because I wrote down Ressin is dangerous, and I was like, where's Ressin? Like, that is how bad I am with names. Like, fully knowing what happens there, but I already forgot the name of it. So There you go. Yeah.
Very good.
Yep.
So, couple interesting things in this couple interesting things in this blurb. So, we now have their, like, year naming convention, like how they call it,
like before and after
unification.
Yeah, unification. That's very cool.
Yeah, and then we learn also about how Ressin is this like pivotal trading post and that it's changed hands 11 times. Like, that's a little excessive. It kind of reminds me of like the history of Canada and how many times we were like passed from like England to France.
Right. It's true. I don't know how many times.
It wasn't 11.
No, but I'd be curious to know how many times. Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought it was funny.
Yeah.
So the chapter opens with the headquarters squad. That's what I'm calling them because it's just like a mumbo jumbo of riders.
Yeah, right.
And they're flying to their assigned post, and Violet feels a physical reaction to leaving the wards. And Taryn's like, yeah, because without the wards, magic feels wilder. Mm-hmm. The group has been flying for hours, and when they stop at this lake, like you said in your synopsis, at this lake for the riders to have a break and then for the dragons to drink some water. And Violet notes that she's sore, but not as bad as the last time they spent hours flying. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, you're getting stronger. Yeah. And the extra work that she's put in with Xaden is also paying off because, like, she tells Mira when they were in Montserrat that, like, he takes every spare moment to train her and ride with her and, like, do all of this extra work with her.
Yeah, so she's been putting in the hours.
Yeah,
like,
she really
there's a reason she's come this far. All the while, at the forefront of Violet's mind is, like, her worry friend Darna, which I thought was really endearing. But it just made me think, like, if other people see Darna being tired all the time and, like, aren't they going to get suspicious? Like, I feel like it's so dangerous that she's out there.
Yeah, I don't think so, because I think people just assume that she's so tired all the time and stuff from
little.
Yeah, being small and, like, not being able to keep up with all these dragons that are way bigger than her.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just worried about her.
Violet notices that the ride of dragons is unsettled, and she's attributing this to being beyond the wards. Mm-hmm. But we find out later that's probably not why they're agitated, and I'm starting to get nervous. Mm-hmm. My spidey senses are firing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we know. It's also, like, just the fact that we're getting to the end of the book, we know something's going to go down. So it's just, I felt like I was, like, holding my breath during all of this. I'm just like, what's going to happen? What's the next thing? Who's that? What? Like, it was very stressful.
Yeah. It's like when you're in a quiet place and, like, you hear some, like, creaking.
Rustling.
Rustling of leaves.
You're like, oh, no. Yeah.
Liam approaches Violet to make sure she's okay, and she's honest. She's like, honestly, like, I really don't know. This poor girl is feeling so much. Like, physically, she's sore. Mentally, she's anxious. We learned that the quadrant loses 10% of graduates in the final test. WTF. That's insane.
Yeah.
And she's like, there's more than that. Something's bugging me, but, like, I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah.
Liam's like, okay, it's okay. Like, that's totally normal. You're just being honest about how you feel.
Yeah.
And then there's some delicious mind-to-mind bantering. And Xaden actually smiles. And I know that this is a book, but my heart actually skipped a beat for Violet on this one because it's like, I don't know. This is very immature for me to say, but it makes me think of how, so Justin and I live in a 2-bedroom condo. One of us works in our spare bedroom and the other person works on the kitchen table. And often I'm in the spare bedroom, he's on the kitchen table. And what I will do sometimes is if he's on a call, I will walk past him and like try to do something really silly to make him like break and like smile while he's on his call.
That's so mean.
I find it so
cute.
funny,
It's
and
cute.
I try to do the most like ridiculous things possible. Anyway, it's what that made me think of. Like when you're in a serious situation, you just like make your significant other.
Yeah. Yeah,
Smile.
for sure. For sure. There's definitely moments where Scott and I can't look at each other. A lot of elbowing going on. You know? So, yeah, it's really cute. I really like, I wrote down how much I love Liam and Violet's relationship. I'm going to have so much trouble talking about Liam this whole chapter.
I know.
This whole episode. But I wrote, like, it's so nice to have a platonic relationship between, like, a guy and a girl. And it's so pure, and there's so much love there. Anyway.
It's okay, I have a Kleenex box close by.
So I was really bad. I didn't do my homework, and I had to read that last chapter for this episode this morning, right before coming here, and I was literally bawling, and I like sent a picture of my cry face to
I screenshotted it and I'm posting it to our stories.
I figured. I was like, this will see the light of day, it's fine. But yeah, I was just like, oh, I didn't have time. I've been super busy, and I was like, I'll just read it tomorrow morning, and well,
Little did you know.
yeah, so it's just a day.
I'm just surprised because, well, I'm not surprised, but I'm surprised because I did tell you, like, you were not going to like me.
I had a feeling someone was going to die, but the fact that, like, Liam already almost died, I didn't know that it was going to be him.
She would go back for him. Well,
Yeah.
she did.
She did.
So shockingly, Liam tells Violet that he thinks she's in over her head with Xaden, but he's actually, like, serious about it. He's not saying it in a jokey way. Mm-hmm. And I find that a little bit odd because, like, Xaden was Liam's foster brother. Mm-hmm. He knows him better than anyone. Mm-hmm. You know he's a good person, or so we think. So why?
Well, he says it. He says it's just, I know his priorities. And, like, I think Xaden's always been the mission first type person. He's been working his butt off to, I mean, we find out what he's up to, but it's just like, I think Liam knows that when push comes to shove, like, he is going to make that a priority.
Probably.
And that's going to be hard on Violet.
Yeah. So sad.
Yeah.
When Violet comes back from her pee-pee break in the forest, Xaden does the Thor hammer move. Have you seen all of those reels of, like, well, I've seen them on Instagram because I'm a millennial. It's like when your husband or your boyfriend just, like, sticks his hand out and then, like, you just, like, run up to, like, grab their hand. So it's the Thor hammer move.
That's funny. No, I've never seen those.
You've never seen that? Okay, I have to find one and show it to you. Anyway, Xaden does that Thor hammer move, and Violet goes to, like, grab his hand, and she's surprised by this show of PDA, but, like, obviously goes along with it, letting him lead her to a cluster of boulders away from the rest of the gang, and he tells her, don't worry, I trust every person here with my life. Because they know they have him to thank for their lives? Like, why does he trust them? Mm-hmm. Suspicious.
I didn't find that suspicious.
Really?
I mean, we've known since the beginning the marked ones are banned together from that first day in the clearing. Like.
Yeah, but he bands them together. Like, maybe he knows that they all are grateful to him. Mm-hmm. And that their lives are dependent on his. But how would... It's just that, like, backwards.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I just figured it's a bond.
Oh, okay. Then in a super Edward Cullen move, he makes sure that she is eaten and drank. And I don't know about you, but I love when a guy mother hens me. Like, I love being babied every now and then. Yeah. Like, I'm not even ashamed.
Scott is the best. Okay. I'm an artist and I come with that baggage. Okay. So when I'm, like, working really hard on a project or whatever, and we have a spare bedroom in the basement. It's kind of like my studio. So when I'm working down there, like, Scott will always come with snacks and drinks and, like, make sure I eat, which is so nice because I sometimes don't eat when I'm working, which is a really bad habit. But yeah, he takes care of me and I appreciate him for it.
It's so nice to be taken care of every now and then.
Yeah.
Xaden also tells her that he wants her to rest when they get to the outpost while he takes the third years out on patrol. And Violet protests immediately. She wants to help. She's like, isn't that why you brought me here? Seriously, Violet? like, yeah, he thinks you're powerful and all, but obviously he's got an ulterior motive to bringing his girlfriend on a 5-day exercise. Like, obviously the reason that you're here is because
he wants to be with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before she can give him any more shit, he goes to his knees. And listeners, I'm going to point out every single time a boy goes to his knees.
Yeah, I was like, oh, Zayden, what are you doing?
And he's just being the best boyfriend ever. He's like massaging her sore muscles, and, you know, they talk about how they were interrupted that morning, and Zayden's like full on apologizing for it, and they talk flirtatiously about finishing what they started, and I'm just giddy. It's just so nice to have this like moment of normalcy, and I know it's not revolutionary, but man, oh man, those early days of a relationship are just
they're really cute.
They're so cute. And I just love reliving them with these fictional characters because I don't plan on reliving them
ever again.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love that Violet calls him a very dangerous addiction.
I found that really cheesy.
I liked it.
So they start making out in the forest, and Violet says that really cheesy line that I was going to ask you what you thought about it, but okay, you liked it. Oh, then they have the like whole "you're mine, only if I'm yours" little thing, which also is so sweet. It makes me sick. And then this wonderful moment is interrupted by a female voice.
Yeah.
And Zayden uses his shadows to hide Violet, but the woman already saw her, and somehow she knows that there's a Sorrengail with silver hair. I don't know how she knows that.
I agree. That made me be like, how does she know she's a Sorrengail? But whatever. I guess everyone's keeping tabs on the Sorrengails.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. And now we get to see griffins for the first time. We learn they're a third of the size of dragons.
Yep.
They have beaks and claws, and I won't lie, I did Google what they looked like. And they look like basically turkeys with like a hawk head. That's basically what they look like. Or like an ostrich with like, but instead of a super long neck that an ostrich has.
But they have the body of a lion.
No, they don't. Well, not when I Googled it. When they Googled it, it's like.
I thought a griffin was like the top half of a
bird
hawk or whatever bird, and the bottom, like the claws and stuff, are supposed to be a lion.
I don't know. I saw lions firsthand last year. And I can tell you that the picture that I saw on the internet of this fictional creature called a griffin.
Yeah.
The bottom half did not look like, I guess it had like 4 legs. That is like kind of like a lion, and like there were like claws, but like the claws are kind of more like talons. Yeah, exactly. And
I thought like if you look up I haven't, but if you look up the definition of a griffin, it's half.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Lion.
Maybe it's the
weird.
photo that I saw. Mm-hmm. But yeah, okay, whatever.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to look it up after.
Violet realizes that as the marked ones are approaching, no one is reaching for their weapons, and it's like alarm. Why is nobody freaking out here? And she's like, okay, I'm just gonna channel my powers and like take care of this. And Zayden's like, no. He stops her. He looks deep in her eyes, asks her to stay calm, and then hands her to Liam.
Yep.
No big deal. Liam is like apologizing, and this poor girl, like her brain is just like backfiring. She does not know what is going on.
Yeah, her like the rug gets like pulled out from under her. She like doesn't know. I mean, I understand her frustration and confusion in the situation, but
for sure.
Yeah.
Then our collective jaws are on the ground when the next thing that is said is Zayden telling them,
"You're early."
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What's the first thing that came to your mind when you read that line?
I wasn't that shocked by it.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, he's been up to something. We knew. I didn't know what he was doing, but like obviously he was doing something. So I was like, yeah, he's in line with the Griffin Riders. Okay. You're mad at me.
Not mad at you. I'm just surprised.
I don't know. It wasn't. I wasn't that shocked. Okay. I was just kind of like, yeah, that feels par for the course.
Again, this is where Elise's intuition surpasses mine.
I was shocked in the next chapter, if that makes you feel better. Later on, I'll be shocked. It's okay.
Fair enough.
But yeah, no, it just made sense. And like from the beginning, we know like we're like there's corruption in the government. There's corruption. Like we knew something was up, And I've been saying, I'm like, why did the people rebel? Why did the people rebel? Maybe we would side them. Maybe we'd agree with them. So when it comes to light that like, oh, Xaden is helping the other side, I was like, I knew there was something. Like, I knew it more than anything. But I didn't know what he was doing. So.
Well, we'll find out next chapter.
There you go.
You want to do the awards? Or did you have anything else?
Yeah, no, I think that is it. It was such a short chapter.
It was a short chapter.
All right. So most romantic. He laces his fingers with mine.
Aww. Mine is, I've been yours for longer than you could ever imagine.
That's very
Which
sweet.
is also like, how long, Xaden? Why? How? You know, there are theories that... Oh, no, I can't say this. Never mind.
Okay.
I can't spoil it for you.
Please don't.
I almost did. Oh, my gosh.
It's okay.
What's your funniest line?
My funniest line is, I'd rather you not fire off lightning bolts out of sleep deprivation.
Mine is, the griffins look tasty from here. And then Violet goes, they're the same size as you. No.
Oh, it's true. And Darna says that.
Yeah.
That's really cute. Spiciest. Keep looking at me like that and we'll be stopped longer than half an hour.
I almost put that one, but then I'm way too fucking greedy when it comes to you.
Also good.
I love it when the guy likes the girl more. I just love it. And
You
especially
think he likes her more?
100%. 100%.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think they both have it really bad.
I think they both have it really bad too, but he fully tells her, I've been yours for longer than you could ever imagine.
Interesting. I haven't really thought about that. So chapter 35.
Yep, chapter 35.
Oof.
Yeah.
All right. We finally find out what Xaden's been up to, and Violet's life is turned upside down as the truth is revealed, feeling betrayed by not one, but two of the most important people in her life. Yeah. The rage I felt in this chapter. I literally, so I read it last night. I couldn't sleep. I should not have read it before bed. I was lying there in bed just like fuming. Anyway, let's get into it.
Okay, the pre-chapter blurb comes from Navarre, an unedited history by Colonel Lewis Markham, again, like the previous chapter. And this says, in his last days of interrogation, Fen Ryerson lost touch with reality. Railing against the kingdom of Navarre, he accused King Towery and all who came before him of a conspiracy so vast, so unspeakable, that it does not bear repeating by this historian. The execution was swift and merciful for a madman who cost untold lives. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So unspeakable and vast that you didn't want to record it. So interesting because we've been talking so much over the course of this book about how the scribes have all this power to basically control the narrative.
Yeah.
And this is Exhibit A.
Yeah. I know. I was like, what did he accuse him of? Like, I was freaking out already. I was like, oh my God, this is like, you're basically admitting to censoring history. Like, it was like, you're a historian. You can't do that. I mean, obviously you can. But like, I was just like, shit is about to go down and it's not going to be pretty. Like,
absolutely. So unlike Elyse, Violet and I are fighting for who is more shocked by this turn of events, and my heart is breaking right along with hers. Aww. The betrayal. Like, apparently the Griffin Flyers and the Dragon Riders, like the marked ones, were supposed to meet tomorrow. Is that why Xaden wanted Violet to rest when they got to the outpost, so that he can hand over the shipment behind her back?
Huh. I didn't even think of that.
We also know that this is probably where he's been going off to, like when she asked him where he was going after the gauntlet. Also, when he came to her room in the middle of the night when the unbonded attacked her, like he was fully dressed again. So clearly...
Yeah, he's been running with them for a while.
Yeah. And now we get the shock of our lives. Major sarcasm here. The Griffin Riders come to warn the Dragon Riders that they lost a village to Venin 2 days ago.
Crazy.
They start to give more details, but Xaden interrupts and says, don't, or we put everything at risk. All it takes is one of us to be interrogated. Obviously, we know why, if one of them is interrogated, they'd be at risk, and it's Mr. Dane the Pain. But anyway, Violet is in absolute bits. She turns to Taryn, being like, are you getting this? Like,
yeah.
She thinks she's the only one, like, who has not lost touch with reality, basically.
But Taryn knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, that hurts.
Yeah.
That really hurts.
turns out that the Venin are on their way to the Paromial trading post on the border across from Athelbine. And the flyer is like, are you armed? Xanon's like, yeah, we're armed. And the flyer's like, okay, cool. You've been warned. Our job is done. We're getting out of here.
Yeah.
In the midst of all this, before she even has a chance to process her emotions and what she's heard, one of the flyers tries to kidnap Violet for ransom.
I know. That comment, I was like, ugh. Like, that's not helping the situation.
Right? And Violet's like, come try to get me. And she got her power cackling, and it's so badass.
It's just crazy that only, like, after all of this does, like, Violet realize the whole tribe is marked ones.
I know.
Like, it was a bit... She has a lot of moments where I'm like, for being so smart and so astute with things, you have a lot of moments where you're not. And this is
a very nice way of putting it.
One of them.
Honestly, this gives me such nightmare vibes. Can you imagine the emotions running through you if everyone you trusted and you were surrounded with knew a secret that you didn't know? I literally have nightmares about this kind of thing. To me, injustice is like the absolute worst emotion you could feel. I can't cope with it at all. Like the number of times I wake up from a nightmare that's like not scary, it's just unjust, and it just makes me
and I find like lying obviously is awful, but like lying by omitting is so hurtful. It's like you chose
it's such a breach of trust.
You chose not to tell me this thing because you knew how I would feel. Like, how dare you? It's really...
You're basically not granting me the agency to feel a certain way or,
and at the end of the day, it's like, it's not up to you to regulate my feelings. Like,
okay, let's just like take a step back before we launch in the
I'm not getting mad yet.
Violet is slowly piecing things together.
Yeah.
Like you said, everyone around is a marked one except for her. And she points this out to Taryn, and Taryn's like, yep. He's just like waiting for her to
get it.
Yeah. And in her mind, she's like, they're all traitors. I fell for it, and I fell for him.
Yeah, I feel bad. What? I really feel bad for her.
So sad. Then I find it interesting that Violet takes the betrayal of the kingdom so seriously. Like, that's something I really wanted to point out to you, because she's like, forget the betrayal to me, the betrayal to the kingdom. And I just thought that, like, from what we've been reading in this book, Violet's been befriending the marked ones. She's been drinking less and less of the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
That...
She's been seeing the cracks. So for her to resort back, but it could also just be a defense mechanism, but for her to resort back to being like, oh, but the kingdom, oh, but you're betraying everything we stand for. It's just like, but is it what you stand for anymore? Because you've been questioning it too. Like, it...
That's the thing. Yeah. I guess I see what you mean about the defense mechanism. It does make sense because it's incongruent with her behavior and her like attitudes through the rest of the book. Yeah, I think you're right. I'm going to go with that.
All right.
Anyway, so she's coming to terms with Xanon's betrayal, and then she's hit with Taryn and Andarna's betrayal too.
Yeah.
And Taryn explains that dragons are bound by bonds. There is only one other bond more sacred than the bond of a dragon and its rider, and that's between a dragon and its mate. Now Violet's on a warpath. She's accusing Liam of not really being her friend.
Yeah.
She
tears into him. I was like, oh no.
But, like, don't you agree that even if Liam and Violet were friends, his loyalties obviously are with Xanon? Like, there's no question there.
Absolutely. But I understand her betrayal or how she feels betrayed, because she sees Liam as a real friend, and she's been, like, kind of saying, like, am I just an assignment or are we friends? And she sees it as a friendship, but she always hasn't been sure how Liam sees it, right?
Yeah. Then she turns to Xanon, and she tells him, if you even think about touching me, I swear I'll fucking kill you. And her power is cackling. Things are getting dicey. Xanon dismisses everyone so that they can go at it, not in the sexy way, in private. And he approaches her like you would approach, like, a feral beast.
Rightfully so.
Right. And she's just lashing out at him, calling him a cliche for working with the Griffin... And she's lashing out at him. She's calling him a cliche for working with the Griffin Riders. And in the most unnecessary commentary known to man, Xanon chooses this moment to be like, well, they're actually flyers.
Yeah, I know.
Like, who cares? We are having an existential crisis.
The point.
It does not matter what we call them.
Yeah. Yeah. And then Xanon says something that I really liked. He says, did you ever stop to think that sometimes you could start out on the right side of a war and end up on the wrong one?
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, Xaden.
After that, they're kind of having an actual conversation, which is so shocking because I would be seeing red. I would be so irrationally angry. And Violet's like, I train like a scribe, remember? I know everything. LOL. But like we already talked so much about how, like I said before with the blurb, scribes have the power to change recorded history. So
yeah. And her father warned her, and the whole thing that like the fable book, which she pieces together afterwards, but it's just like the signs have been there for so long that I feel like in this moment, Violet's natural reaction would be like, oh, wait a minute, I see the pieces coming together way faster than she did. Like before even getting that mad. I don't know. It just felt very reactive for someone who's been very analytic this whole time. Anyway.
I kind of agree with you. Yeah. Then she asked Xaden what he's been giving them, and he's like, weapons. And he's answering all of her questions honestly, and when she thinks that these would be used to kill dragon riders, he's like, no, they're to kill venin. Mm-hmm. And this is when, like you're saying, the cogs are starting to turn. She's piecing together everything. And in the letter that her dad left her, it says, folklore is passed from one generation to the next to teach us about our past. So she's like, okay, like...
What was he trying to say?
What exactly? Thank you. Words. Now we get a little bit of backstory on the venin. One brother bonded to a griffin, one brother bonded to a dragon, and the third, I guess there was nothing for him to bond to, so he grew jealous. He drew directly from the source, losing his soul and waging war on the other two. Violet's anger is now, like, split between, like, Xaden and her dragons. Like, she has kindly included her dragons in receiving her ire, as I wrote in my notes. Taryn tells her that he has nothing to add because he'd prefer that she comes to her own conclusions. And he tells her, I chose you for your intelligence and courage. Don't let me down.
Yeah.
We learn that the reason the venin don't attack Navarre is because of the wards, which is making all non-dragon magic impossible. And then,
Which, did we know that?
No.
Okay. I was like, what? Like, that's crazy. I didn't realize that's how powerful the wards were until this moment, so.
Yeah. And in her naivety, she's like, well, that means we must have no idea Paromiel is being attacked. And Xaden's like so gentle. And it's just so devastating. He's like, or you have to believe that we know and choose not to do anything about it. I was like, why on earth would that be the case? And he's like, because the only thing that kills venin is the very thing that powers our wards. So it's really like Navarre is stuck between a rock and a hard place, and they are choosing
to protect their people.
Yeah.
Instead of helping anything outside their walls.
Exactly. So it turns out that this is why there have been so many attacks along the border, both that we've been learning about in Battle Brief, but also what's been withheld, like the scroll that Liam and Violet.
Was it that talked about the raids?
It was just an attack on a border.
Okay. Because raids have been brought up, and it's just like, why are they raiding? Well, now we know why they're raiding and what they're raiding. The whole thing with the material, which they only refer to as alloy at one point, but I don't know, is that the name of it? Whatever.
Yeah.
The material that used to forge the weapons and stuff, it's kind of like in Game of Thrones. Have you seen or read Game of Thrones?
No.
Okay. Well, basically, so it's not really a spoiler. There's a wall, and beyond the wall, there's these creatures, and they can only be killed by a specific material. It's like the exact same concept.
Okay. That concept is a little bit in from Blood and Ash also.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. I feel like it's common.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm not saying she took it from
No.
I was just like, oh, it's like the same concept.
Yeah. Xaden shows her a dagger, and she immediately recognizes it, thinking it's the one from her mom's desk. And this whole exchange is so painful. And Xaden is being so gentle about it. Like, you just have to hand it to this boy. He knows that her worldview is completely falling apart, and he's just so kind about it.
Yeah.
In a moment where they really can't afford to be doing this.
Yeah. He still treats it very tenderly, yeah.
Yeah. Now, this is a controversial take. And I have to ask you, and I kind of have a feeling about what you're going to say. Violet gets upset at him for not telling him sooner, not telling her sooner. And obviously the reason is because of Dane.
Yeah.
I happen to agree with him.
Yeah.
But how do you feel? Because she does bring up the possibility of him teaching her to strengthen her mental shields.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I read him saying that, I was like, oh, that makes sense. So I agree why he didn't tell her. But at the same time, he could have simultaneously been helping her with the mental shield thing. Like, she's not wrong in that. But I understand why he didn't tell her. It, like Liam was saying, his priorities are set. And, like, this whole situation is so much bigger than Violet and Xaden.
For sure.
So I understand not wanting to risk it and getting that information accidentally to Dane because he doesn't trust Dane, which proves to be the right move.
Right? So Xaden finally outright says it. The reason his dad was killed was because he was trying to help people beyond the wards. Mm-hmm. So I think it's clear, you've been saying for weeks now, I wonder what the revolution was about. I wonder if we'd be on the revolution side. Yep, it's clear we would be.
We would be. And that's what I meant by you were so good about it. I've been talking about this since like almost chapter 1. Like,
I know.
Anyway.
And it's so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
I need to find a better word, but like there really is nothing else. Xaden's being so vulnerable. He's like, I watched them kill my father. I couldn't risk you too. And this broke me because he goes, you love me. And she goes, loved. And he screams, love, you love me. Oh.
Yeah, that was really heartbreaking.
I could just picture it so clearly. It was such a movie moment.
Yeah. And she's just, she doesn't know how to react, so she went for the jugular, which is just like so like, oh my God, he's trying to be so kind. And she's just like, I'm going to destroy you.
He just wants her to believe him. And I just can't imagine the stress and anxiety he's been under for the past few years. Like, he's got so much he's shouldering, and he's only 23.
No, it's true.
Like, literally.
I forget how young they are sometimes.
I know.
At the beginning, I thought they were so young, and now after living all this, I'm like forgetting how young they are.
Yeah. Literally all he cares about is keeping her safe.
Yeah.
It just, she's not having it. Her anger is completely clouding everything. And she's like, let's just get to Athbine. Like,
yeah,
I'm done.
Yeah.
And they're off.
Yeah. Before that, Taryn apologizes for making a decision without her consent.
Yeah.
And I thought that was weird. Like, it felt very like, I need to address consent, so I'm going to put this into the book. Like, I don't know. It felt
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's what you thought?
Yeah.
I actually, okay, so I was about to bring this up because I was going to say that, like, basically, Violet's two most important sets of relationships are now hanging from a thread. The one with her, let's just, for all intents and purposes, he's her boyfriend, with her boyfriend and her dragons. And she's mad at both of them. Like,
I mean, rightfully so, but...
Yes. Well, first of all, don't you find it weird? So... Okay.
So many thoughts.
I know. Sorry. So Taryn, the reason why Taryn didn't say anything is because the bond with his mate was stronger than the bond with Violet. Fine. Makes sense. What about Andarna?
Well, yeah. I don't know. I think Andarna
she doesn't have another bond that, like...
No, but I think she just kind of does whatever
what she's
Taryn...
told.
Yeah, she's still like the baby. But it was more just...
The apology?
The way the apology came out felt very, like, weird.
When I was a kid and I would get into a fight with my parents, particularly my dad. And I, like, my dad was objectively in the wrong. My dad never apologized.
Right.
Like, I could probably count on, like, one hand the number of times my dad actually, like, apologized for something. And I don't know if this is, like, an immigrant parent thing or... Like, I'm not really, or just, like, a parent thing in general. Yeah. Because I feel, but you know what? Like, now with, like, gentle parenting and stuff, like, people apologize to their kids a little bit more.
Parenting style has probably shifted a ton.
Yeah, probably.
But, yeah. We're old. So.
Yeah. So, the reason I'm saying this is because, like, if you grow up in a world where your parents never apologize, like, it's really weird to have a person in authority apologize to you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's, like, the vibe I got here. Like, we've been saying for so long that Taryn is, like, a father figure to her. So to have her father figure apologize to her, that's what's unsettling, I think, to you and I.
Maybe.
Is because we're just not used to, like, a person in authority apologizing to us.
It was just so forthright. Yeah, no, maybe you're right.
That was the first thing that came to my mind. I was like, that is 100% why, like, we're just like, this is weird.
What? Maybe.
An adult acknowledging their mistake?
Their mistake? That's crazy. That's funny.
As they're flying, Violet starts processing. She realizes that the book, as you predicted, the Book of Fables, was forbidden. She also realizes that there are 400 years of tomes in the archives, except there are 600 years of history of Navarre.
Yeah. Which I found suspicious as hell.
Mm-hmm. So it's one generation, again, she's referencing the letter her dad left her. One generation to change a text. One generation chooses to teach that text. The next grows, and the lie becomes history.
Yep.
Anyway, they land in Athebyne, and there's a lot of, like, angsty looks between Violet and Xaden.
There's a passage before they land, like, where Violet's talking about, like, how her life is falling apart and her heart is breaking, and I found it very dramatic. I was like, okay, Violet.
It's her first heartbreak. Cut her some slack.
I know. I think, though, I was just thinking about the situation too practically. I'm like, I understand her feeling betrayed and everything, but when you step back and look at it, I'm like, it wasn't a personal thing. It was to protect the secrets of everyone. Like, they had to keep it a secret. Like, it's not a personal thing on you, Violet. Like, but I'm just being too practical. I need to let her feel her feelings.
Odd coming from you.
I know.
So they land in Athebyne, and then everyone notices that the outpost is empty. And Violet tells herself that it's one of the most strategic outposts Navarre has, so there's no way they'd abandon it simply for the war games. Like, something is afoot. Liam uses his farsight to scope out the surrounding area. While this is happening, Xaden asks Violet what Dane said when they parted, and she tells him that Dane said, "I'll miss you." And I'll remind you that last week you're like, "Oh, Dane said I miss you." And I was like, "No, Elyse."
I know, and I didn't, so I read it wrong, but when you said that he said, "I'll miss you," not "I miss you," honestly, my whole, like, brain, like, warped, and I was like, oh my God, like, the cogs started turning, and I was like, oh my God, this is, oh no. Oh no,
indeed.
Yeah, I wrote mean things.
Let's hear it. Can't wait. Let's hear it.
I just like wrote that motherfucker. Okay. I've been talking about him, like, and I brought it up maybe last episode or 2 episodes ago, like, he touched her face. Is he stealing her memories? So he is stealing her memories. And, like, that part didn't shock me, but what he chose to do with the information did shock me. He is supposed to be her best friend. What a piece of garbage. Oh, my God. He just sold out someone has he been pretending to care about her this whole time just so he could touch her face? Like,
no. Keep in mind, he hadn't anticipated her going. He anticipated her being in his squad.
Yeah, but even the whole, like, this whole time, I'm like, if he knows something about Xaden, he should tell her. And the reason why he hasn't told her is because he's been getting that information from, like, touching Violet's face. So it's so shady. Everything is so shady. I feel so betrayed. I'm so mad. I already didn't like the guy, but, like, the fact that he has been weaseling to his parents or to his dad or whatever, and then even when he meets King Tari, you pointed out, like, oh, he's, like, really happy and feels good about himself. I'm like, yeah, because he's been leaking all this information, so the king probably congratulated him. Like, my world came crashing down. I'm so mad. I hate him so much.
Do you think there's any redemption for him?
Unless in the next chapter, he comes sweeping in on his fucking dragon and fights with them, absolutely not.
Okay.
He could burn in hell.
Okay.
That is the only chance at redemption. Oh my God, I'm so mad. I'm so mad.
I love seeing you riled up.
I literally couldn't sleep last night. I finished the chapter and, like, finished my notes, whatever, and I, like, was so mad, and Scott was like, what's wrong? And I didn't want to spoil it, so I was just like, just things are happening in the book.
Just things.
I probably, like, dreamt about it. Like, I didn't sleep well because of it. That is how
it affected
me.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Note to self: finish the book in broad daylight.
Yeah, no, for real. Oh my God. It was just, my bad, poor scheduling last week, but yeah, you see, this is why I need a break between books. Do you see the feelings I feel?
Alternatively, you could find out what happens next.
True. Very true.
So meanwhile, Xaden and Violet are having this conversation, Garrick finds an envelope. And I can only imagine the chaos going on around them as they're talking about this whole, like, Dane-Violet situation. And then there's the envelope situation happening. And then Xaden opens the envelope, and it's a letter from Colonel Atos, and it says their mission is to survive if they can. So Violet is processing her accidental betrayal of them. Xaden is announcing to his friends, we've been sent here to die. What? It's like too much is happening.
Oh, yeah.
Sensory overload.
Absolutely.
And then the chapter ends.
I know. The last thing Xaden says before the chapter ends is he says, this isn't your fault.
I know. Yeah. What? He's so magnanimous. He's so generous.
It just kind of so he didn't want to tell her because he figured Dane would get the info from her without her knowing. So it just, like, he didn't want to put that onus on her, and he didn't want to put that without her knowing, but that responsibility in her hands. So it's like, that's why he didn't tell her. So in a big way, like, he was protecting her by not telling her.
Absolutely. Ugh. Yeah, it's so tough.
It's so tough. This chapter was oof.
I know. And the next chapter is even worse. I got the Kleenex box.
I cried so hard. Anyway.
All right, let's do the awards before we get into the sob fest.
Yeah. Most romantic. I watched my own father executed trying to help these people. I couldn't risk you too.
Mine's a Xaden line too, and it says, I never lied when I said I couldn't live without you, Violence. He backs away slowly, his lips curving in a sad smile, and defenseless women have never been my type, remember? He can't live without her.
I put that as my funniest line, him saying defenseless women have never been my type. Because he's trying to lighten the mood in that part, and she's just not having it.
But it's a sad smile.
It's really cute.
Oh, okay, so that's your funniest line.
Yeah.
Mine was when Violet says, you have no idea what I'm thinking. And Xaden says, you're thinking I've betrayed our kingdom. And she goes, logical guess, good for you.
That is funny. I didn't put a spiciest.
Mine was a spicy sassy.
Yeah.
And it's when she said, you're such a cliche, Xaden. You're a villain hiding in plain fucking sight.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I figured there was a spicy sassy, but I was just living so many emotions. I was like, I don't know. I don't know.
By the way, listeners, if you hear knocking or like construction sounds, I'm really sorry. Mm-hmm. They're fixing my neighbor's balcony.
Yeah, so it's loud.
And
if you're watching, that's why I keep looking off camera. I'm like staring at them watching as I'm talking. Anyway.
Focus, Elyse.
I know, I am.
All right, we've got the Kleenex box.
Okay.
Listeners, it is within arm's reach.
Okay.
You ready? Lisa's already tearing up.
I'm like so mad.
We haven't even started and Lisa's already crying.
I mean, I don't know if it's been obvious. Like, I love Liam so much. And I'm very upset that this is his fate. But you know what? It's a good book, so. But I always get attached to that, like, side character. Like, as much as I love main characters, I love side characters. I don't know why. I've always just, like, I tend to get very, like, be very attached.
That's why you're going to love Throne of Glass. There is a menagerie of side characters.
It's awesome.
Yeah, you're going to love them.
All right.
Chapter 36.
Fables become reality as Violet and the squad face the stuff of nightmares. A high-intensity battle erupts between dragons, wyvern, and venin, all while they try and save civilians. The chapter ends in tragedy as we are forced to say goodbye to one of our favorite riders.
The pre-chapter blurb comes from The Wyvern's Cry, The Fables of the Baron, which I'm assuming is the name of the book that Violet's dad had given her. And it says, from there, in the land beyond the shadows, were monsters that dwelled in the night and dined on the souls of children who wandered too close to the woods. Spooky stuff. The squad's like, okay, we're in this. Time to figure some shit out. And the dragons are on edge. Taryn is like, something is off. I felt it at the lake. It's stronger now. And as they're figuring out like what's going on, Garrick continues the letter Colonel Atos left, which said that this is a test of your command. You have the choice of abandoning the village of our enemy, because Resin is a paromial village, or abandoning command of your wing. What? What kind of choice is this? Like, if this isn't indicative enough of the type of people like Navarian leadership is, I don't know what is.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's to test like where his loyalties lie, right?
Exactly.
Because they already know he's been giving them weapons, so he's like, oh yeah, like it's a punishment, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
And it turns out that if they, like, in order to, let's say, pass this loyalty test, they'd have to abandon the outpost.
The village, yeah.
And they'll make it to the new headquarters in time safely, and they can continue the war games as if, like, nothing happened. Yeah. But if they leave, all the civilians, the occupants of this trading post, are going to be destroyed. And there's, like, 300 people that live there. Like, that's a lot to have on your conscience.
But, like, where is everyone? Because didn't they said it's weird that it's empty, so, like, what?
Well, someone had to have warned them.
Yeah. Shady. Violet is realizing that this is an execution. And it just feels like, I mean, it's totally on par for everything in this world, but it's, when they first found out about what Xaden was doing and what all the marked ones were doing, why didn't they just put an end to it? Why didn't they just call them out and be like, you've been doing this, like, let's put an end to it? Instead, they do this because
because they would have to reveal what Xaden was doing and why. It would be giving Xaden the opportunity to
bring it to light.
Lift the veil on what he'd been doing. Exactly. Also, it could make him a martyr. At least if we don't want a martyr. We don't want a martyr. Think of Hunger Games.
Yeah.
They didn't want a Mockingjay.
Yeah.
She was the symbol of the rebellion.
Yes. She was a great symbol.
She was. Liam describes the Venin, because, like, now that he's using his farsight and he's like, oh shit, like, stuff's gonna happen, he sees Venin, and he describes them as purple robes, distended veins, which is just a fancy way of saying spider veins, bright eyes, creepy.
Yeah. It's really funny, because when I read purple robes, my brain automatically went to, like, Catholic priests, because I'm like, those are the only purple robes that I know
purple
of.
robes?
Yeah. During, well, not certain seasons, like Easter and stuff. Yeah. Like, purple is, like, a very common color, so I was like, that's weird.
I thought they were white robes.
No, they wear purple.
Oh.
They wear different colors depending on the season.
That's so interesting.
Like, Lent, I think, is purple.
I don't know. I'm Orthodox, so they wear black or white.
Only?
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so I was just picturing priests, which is probably not what I should.
I was thinking Dumbledore. So very different. Our frames of reference are very different.
Love it.
I guess they all knew, though, about the Venin, like they being the marked ones.
Yeah.
In theory, but none of them had actually seen them.
Yeah, because he's like, I guess that's what it is. I've never seen one before. Yeah.
And Imogen asks about the red veins, and that's when Scribe Violet comes out. And Violet tells them that's because magic corrupts their blood as they lose their souls. And nature likes things in balance. And we've heard this a few times so far in this book, so that's just interesting.
It's the same, like, concept in, I mean, a lot of things, but, like, in Star Wars, like, the Force likes everything in balance.
It's true,
so, like, there will, like, good or evil will never prevail because it needs to be in balance.
Turns out that despite claiming only to warn them, 7 Griffin riders have joined them in this fight. And the gang is in information gathering mode. While Liam is keeping an eye on the Venin, who has now breached the gates around the post, Imogen and Bodhi are taking stock of the population of Resin. And I love Bodhi so much. I've always loved him. I thought he was so funny when he came in after, was it him or Garrick? Oh no, it might have been Garrick, who said, you know, when Xaden just, like, killed all the unbonded? Was it Garrick?
I think they were both there, but Garrick spoke.
Okay, anyway. I just think he's so brave and righteous. He's like, we are going down there. Like, no questions asked.
Yeah.
And I truly, truly feel for Xaden at this point, because he's really feeling the weight of responsibility here of the consequences of, like, their actions, of their inexperience. He is such a good leader because he asks everyone for their opinion. He basically is like, we're potentially going to die out here.
Yeah. And he says it. He's like putting everything aside, like putting rank aside, like, let's do this together. What do you all think? And gives them all a choice too, which is, like, so not what they're taught to do. Like, it's just, Xaden.
I know. Soleil and Garrick are like, we have the numbers, we're good. Violet's like, at least there aren't any wyvern, which are the creatures that... the creatures that Venin created to compete with dragons. But the difference between a wyvern and a dragon in this world is that riders channel from their dragons and venom channel into their wyvern. Liam's like, we've got the weapons, and Imogen's like, we've got the dragons. That's got to count for something. So everyone is on board. They're like, we are going to fight.
It also is like a nice little like rallying scene before the war. They each had said their piece. They're all like, all for one and one for all. Like it was just it was a great little scene.
It was cute. A Griffin rider arrives to be like, we can take it from here. We're making peace with the fact that we're going to die. There's literally no hope. And she tells us the dragon fire doesn't kill venom, only the daggers that they've been smuggling.
Mm-hmm. So she's like, run, basically. Yeah.
The girl is so resigned to her death. And basically she's like, thanks for all you've done for the last 2 years. Like, get out of here. Save yourselves. And Xaden has made his decision. And I just have to read it because I think it's so beautiful. Sigale says she has never run from a fight and today will not be the first. And I'm not going to stand by while innocent people are dying either. But I'm not going to order any of you to join me. I'm responsible for all of you. None of you crossed the parapet because you wanted to. None of you. Side note, this is not in the quote, but Violet included. You crossed it because I made a deal. I'm the one who forced you into the quadrant, so I won't think less of anyone who wants to fly for El Tuval instead. Make your choice. And then he mind to mind tells Violet, I don't want you in harm's way. And she responds, if the others get to make a choice, so do I. Yeah. And then the squad just starts making these like beautiful declarations that make me so weepy. I have to read them too. Bodhi says, you saved every single one of us here, cousin, and we're thankful. Now I'd like to do what we've trained for. And if it means I don't go home, then I guess my soul will be commended to Malik. I wouldn't mind seeing my mother anyway.
Yeah, that got me.
Then you have Garrick. I'll tell you the same thing I did after threshing our first year when we decided to start smuggling weaponry out. You kept us alive all these years. We get to decide how we die. I'm with you. Soleil's like, exactly, I'm in. Liam's like, we watched as our parents were executed because they had the courage to do the right thing. I'd like to think my death would be just as honorable. No, Liam, do not talk about your death being honorable.
It is, though.
I know. Well, no, it's not. His death was so pointless.
No.
It was pointless.
But he like...
It wasn't even his death. It was Day's death that caused his death. Anyway, we'll get there.
But it's so... He does so much badassery leading up to it.
No, absolutely. But I'm just saying, like, it's not even, like, his death that's the cause. It's his dragon's death. Yeah. Very annoyed. Anyway. Violet is like, shit, their parents died to expose the truth while mine sacrificed my brother to keep this heinous secret. What?
Oof, yeah, I know. That, oof. Oh, my God.
I know.
Anyway.
Violet checks in with Taryn, realizing that the decision she makes isn't just about, her, and he comes back with a fan-freaking-tastic line. We will feast on their bones, Silver One.
Yes, I loved it.
And just like that, we're in battle mode.
Yeah.
Since there's only one way to kill Venom, which is the daggers that they have, they're going to have to dismount and fight on the ground. And Xaden tells them to save as many people as they can. Mm-hmm. And Sigale tries to make things right with Violet, trying to, like, validate her and her choices and defend Xaden's lack of transparency. And Violet's like, nope.
Yeah.
Violet instructs Andarna to hide because she's basically a beacon with her goldenness. Mm-hmm. And then, as if shit could not possibly get any worse,
the wyvern comes out.
Exactly. And Taryn admits that he suspected their existence, but that's why he's been so, like, crazy with all the maneuvers of them, like, flying.
Yeah. I'm surprised that Taryn didn't know.
For sure?
Yeah. Yeah, I was just surprised. I guess he doesn't leave Navarre.
The Vale, yeah, he doesn't leave, yeah.
But it just felt like these dragons, we don't know how old they are.
He's 100.
He's only 100. Okay.
He's 100 and he's considered middle-aged.
Okay. I guess then that would make sense because he only fought in the rebellion wars and not the...
Yeah, not the,
wars.
like, real wars, yeah.
It just feels like... I understand humans erasing it. I'm surprised dragons did, too.
Very good point. Thought never crossed my mind. I didn't latch onto that. Xaden approaches Violet and gives her another of those special daggers. And she's like, you're not going to ask me to sit this one out? And he's like, I know you won't listen to me, so no. And then she's like, Melgren will know about this. Ellie's just like, grab the couch.
Because what we find out in this moment is that their marks shield them from Melgren being able to see everything they're doing.
That is why they're not allowed to be more than 3 at a time.
The Jellies can't compute. No, but it's just the dragon protected them in marking them. I was so mad that the dragon marked them a few weeks ago. And she protected them. I know. Imagine my shock. I was like, it all makes sense now. Because I was saying a few episodes ago, like, I don't understand. Dragons are self-governed. Why would he agree to do this thing that seems so human? So he agreed, but also said, fuck you, Melgren. I'm going to mark them, but I'm going to also take them away from you. Oh, so good. So good.
This is so satisfying. It is so satisfying to watch this unfold. As Violet and Xaden part, she tells him, I need you to survive this, even if I hate that I still love you. And I just feel this so deeply because sometimes you really don't like your person, but you obviously still love them so much. And it's just so real.
Yeah.
Violet climbs onto Taryn.
Yeah. And side note, puts on her goggles. This is the first time we hear about goggles being used.
No, it's not because...
Then I missed it.
Yeah, you missed it. Because when... You know how a few weeks ago, Violet and Xaden, they bump into Melgren, Colonel Atos, and her mom on the way to the flight field. And Colonel Atos compliments her, basically, like, the tan lines from her goggles.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
He calls them like something marks or whatever, but
yeah. I didn't remember that at all, or it flew over my head, or I don't know.
I mean, it's a small detail. So Violet climbs onto Taryn, and they realize that the Venin are after something, and they notice that there's a Venin under a clock tower, and despite destroying the structure with Taryn's fire, the Venin just walks out. No big deal.
I'm sorry, but that was dumb. Like, they know that the fire doesn't affect them. Why? What? Like,
she tries this a lot. Like, she's tried a few times. I know.
Like, you go into this knowing the fire is not going to work. I understand using the fire to, like, slow down the Venin or something, or buy time. If you're getting crushed by rubble, like, it's going to take you a second to get up. Like, I get it. But it's just like, Violet's like, oh my God, it's unscratched. Violet. We know this. Try something else.
Very true. The mind-to-mind connection is so handy during this fight because Violet's able to convey important info to Xaden, and I just love it. It's just like... Then we also learned that griffins and dragons can communicate.
Yeah.
That was a nice little surprise.
I know. Which makes sense, but I never thought about it.
Yeah. Violet is trying to wield, but her power is still imprecise. Like, the girl cannot aim. And she gets distracted by Liam and Soleil off their dragons, ushering people to safety. And she wields again, but her miss catches the Venin's attention. Then the Venin channels.
This part is so scary.
I know. And the ground is, like, rotting.
Yeah,
it's like
decaying.
But like, it's, like, moving towards them. Like, the rot is, like, moving.
Yeah. Well, basically, the Venin's sucking up the power, and it's spreading from where the Venin is, right? So it's growing and growing from all the power that's being sucked. But then, to add a layer of spooky, Soleil ends up on the ground where the power is being sucked, and her life gets sucked. Like, that's terrifying.
Yeah, it's disgusting also because the actual description is that her body curls onto itself and becomes nothing but a husk.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah. It's... In this moment, I was like, oh no. Like, I already knew that it was going to be, I mean, they're in war and whatever, but I guess I didn't know the range or, like, the power that the Venin had. And in this moment, I was like, oh, this is bad. This is really, this is terrible. Really bad.
So, new information. Do not stay on the ground.
Yeah. Get in the air.
So, again, this is the second time Violet has, like, potentially a clever idea that does not pan out, and she knows that the building that the Venin is next to is full of unstable material. So she's like, oh, if Taryn can, like, blow it up and explode, maybe that will kill the Venin. But again,
it's just the Griffin lady said, I think it was her that said, the only thing that could, or someone said it, the only thing that could kill them is the weapon.
Yeah.
So it makes me think maybe let's not try the things we already know can't kill them.
True.
One thing, though, I was like, oh, maybe lightning could affect them if she could strike them directly.
Yeah.
She hasn't successfully done that yet. So
that
I
is true.
Still don't know.
Yeah.
But we find out that she could do that to Wyvern now.
Yeah. So she tries to draw everyone away from the town to protect the civilians as much as possible, like give them time to reach safety. And she finally hits a wyvern and it just drops out of the sky.
Yeah. Boom.
Yeah. She's missing a bunch, but at least the corresponding explosions and like places that her lightning is landing distracts the wyvern. And yeah.
But yeah, Taryn brings out maybe their bonds are the same as ours. If we kill the wyvern, maybe the riders die with them, which I'm like, oh, that's a great tactic. So start hitting the wyvern. But then later on, they do say, and maybe I'm jumping a bit, but a lot of the wyvern are riderless.
Yes.
I thought that the wyvern get their power from the riders.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean they need to be physically in contact.
But it would still suggest that each dragon has a venom attached to it. It needs to be each wyvern has a venom attached to it or something. Like there needs to be some. It's drawing its power. I'm so glad to tell
you. This is one of the last times I'm going to tell you. You will wait and see.
Okay. Because anyway, I was just like, the wyvern is powerless without a venom. Basically, is what the info we have is. So what is going on?
I'm not going to say anything.
Okay. We're so close to the end.
I know. 3 more chapters. Violet is unfortunately weakening. Then she notices a wyvern on Xaden, who has done this like fancy dismount onto the ground. And then he is so cool. He throws this rope of shadows in a lasso around Sigale's head. And then she yanks him up off the ground. And then out of the path of the wyvern.
And he lands, like whips up, lands on her back. I was about to say I replayed that part more than once, but I did. I reread it more than once because I could see it so well in my head, and I was like, that's so cool. He's such a badass.
I know. I wrote, the scene is so well written.
It is so well written. Like, it was so nice to finally get to see the skill level these people have.
Yes.
Because moments later, Liam has an amazing attack as well. Like, walking on the back and jumping on and just, like, killing it. They're so skilled, and we haven't actually gotten to see them at their full capacity yet.
For sure.
So it was very exciting to, like, finally see this.
Yeah. So like you just mentioned, now it's Liam's turn to be in peril. He launches, like you said, off of Day onto the wyvern where he slits the venom's throat. Unfortunately, another wyvern kind of sneaks up on them, and Day enters this intense battle. But because they're so close, and Violet obviously is terrible at aiming, she cannot risk her lightning hitting Day.
Yeah.
So she turns to Liam, who's now on Taryn's back with her, and like they're strapped together. And she's like, why the heck did you risk it? And he melts my heart and makes me want to cry when he says, that thing was about to take a chunk out of Taryn. You saved my life, and now it's my turn. No matter what you think of me for keeping secrets, we're still friends. Oh,
my heart.
The tears have begun. On Elise's part, I'm
not crying yet. I'm not crying yet. It's just my heart hurts so much.
Violet literally cannot do anything except for watch as the wyvern and Day like battle, and Day is in its grasp. Meanwhile, Liam realizes something, but he can't tell Violet because they're trying to get this stupid wyvern off of Day, and they're like being tossed about. And they finally get the wyvern off of Day, but Day is not okay. And if Day is dead, then Liam is next.
Yeah.
No. The Liam death scene is just so brutal. Rebecca knows what she's doing, and actually she's known for like killing her characters. Like she is somebody who's not afraid to kill her characters, and that is something that SJM gets so much flack for. Do not give her flack. I have no problem that SJM doesn't kill her characters. Like, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's actually not even true. It's just true in ACOTAR. But anyway, the struggle to get to Day with Violet collapsing under Liam's weight. Liam asking Violet to take care of his sister.
Oh my God.
Liam still having Xaden's back, being like, I know you feel betrayed, but Xaden needs you, and I don't just mean alive. I know you feel betrayed, but Xaden needs you, and I don't just mean alive, Violet. He needs you. Please hear him out. Violet is thanking him for being her shadow and friend.
Yeah.
It's been my honor.
I know. I do have tears now, guys.
Yeah. It's just not fair. Xaden's grief. Xaden calling him brother. Xaden carrying him to die with Day. I am proud to say that this cold-hearted bitch did not cry at Liam's death, but this one did.
I did. Oh my God. Oh, my heart. He's just so sweet and the best, and I just don't want to say goodbye. It was a very well-written death scene and goodbye, and he said all the things that I think he needed to say in his death, and it's just, yeah.
I honestly feel the most bad for Xaden.
For Xaden, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've said I cry easily, but like seeing people sad, like if I see someone crying, I will cry. I don't.
Yeah, like I'm tearing up looking at Elyse crying, not on what happened in this book.
I don't have to know why the person is crying. Like if I see someone in pain, like it automatically makes me sad. And reading this, seeing Xaden in pain and knowing why he's in pain and like that connection, and he's been protecting Liam since he was a child.
I know.
It's really sad.
I know. Oh.
Anyway.
And the Kleenex is out. Poor Elyse.
I'm too soft for this world.
You're beautifully sensitive.
Thanks.
Xaden leaves Liam's body.
Yeah.
To tell Violet that there are 2 venin in the horn, and that basically he'd have to hold them off while Violet goes and kills them with her lightning. And he tells her, there's no me without you. Welp.
Yeah.
He goes off and she's determined. She wants revenge. She screams and lightning hits the wyvern, sending it down. So I'm like, oh, so it took a massive blow to your heart for you to finally be able to wield an aim.
Well, it's
okay.
the same thing last time. When she got Jack, it was only because Liam was potentially dead, basically, is what lit the fire in her to be able to wield. And it's just like, girl, you got to get this in
We
check.
need some other source of motivation. Like, we need some intrinsic motivation, not extrinsic motivation.
Yeah, exactly. Very well worded.
Thank you very much.
We have to find another way, because you can't keep, like, killing your friends to wield your power.
Yeah, pretty much. The chapter closes with Taryn and Violet being blindsided by a wyvern coming at them from the side, and Taryn roaring in pain. And that's it.
And that's it.
Until next week.
With the last chapters. I was just, like, sitting there, just, like, processing all my emotions. But at this point, like, there's no going back to the school. Like, there's just no going back. I just feel like they should just they know enough to set out into the world, and there's shit to be done, and there's a war to be dealt with. Like, what are they going to do? Go back to the school and be like, haha, we survived? Like, no, screw the school, screw all of that society. There's just so much more to life. Like, I just feel like the curtains have lifted, and it's just like, anyway, we will see where their journey takes them, but
can't tell you.
No, I know that, but it's just like, I can't even imagine, like, what would going back to the school be? Like, there's no point. Like, they obviously want them dead. Let them think they died and go do good in the world, and screw them. These are my feelings.
I have to say, the awards for this chapter were very difficult for me to find.
I agree.
But I found them.
Me too.
Oh, good for you.
When I was first reading it, though, I was like, oh, there's no way I'm finding awards, but I was able to pull some out, so.
All right, let's hear them.
Most romantic. I'm going to cry reading it.
Oh, no.
Okay. Whew. Liam, who never complained about being my shadow, never hesitated to help, never bragged about being the best of our year. He died protecting me.
Yeah. So my most romantic line actually comes from, so basically none of my lines come from like the latter half of the chapter that is very emotional because I just could not cope.
Fair.
So mine is actually when they're deciding whether they're going to fight, and my most romantic line is, we can live as cowards or die as riders.
I love that.
Yeah.
Well chosen.
Thank you.
Funniest. We will feast on their bones, silver one.
Yeah. Mine is when Violet turns to Taryn and is like, did you know? And Taryn says, I suspected. Why do you think I've been so hard on you during flight maneuvers? And she goes, you and I are going to have to work on our communication skills.
Yeah. Spiciest. I did sassy spicy.
Me too.
Then let us be the ones who hunt.
Ooh.
Yeah. I felt like in that moment, Violet's like fire was lit and she was like, it's go time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine is between her and Sigale, actually. Sigale tells her, "You're a far cry from the trembling girl who stood in the courtyard and tried to mask her fear after parapet. I approve." And Violet's like, "I wasn't asking for your approval." Violet, like, gives literally negative shits.
Yeah. I think
she gives so few shits that we are in a deficit of shits.
Yeah. I think right after that she says, if I'm gonna die, I might as well go out honest or something. She's just,
exactly.
Like, literally says, like, I don't care. Like, let's go. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's it.
That's it. We're heading into our last episode, guys.
I know.
It's crazy.
So for next week, finish Fourth Wing.
Finish Fourth Wing.
Yeah. Crazy. Ooh. Thank you so much, listeners, for being here along this crazy journey. Please rate this podcast and leave us a review. It'll help other people find us. If you're interested in supporting our podcast, we just launched our Amazon storefront where you can find some of our favorite things, books we love, and more. You can follow us on Instagram at BookBoundPod and on TikTok at Book Bound Besties. Like I always say, please tag us in your reaction videos if you're reading along with us. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback, you can email us at bookboundpod@gmail.com. Let's get to reading!